Welcome to the hidden truth of the scriptures. Today we shall uncover the hidden truth behind Elijah's chariot of fire, Jonah's big fish, and other fairy tale characters in the Bible. Happy viewing. The sun was setting over the rugged hills of Israel, painting the sky with hues of amber and crimson. A gentle breeze rustled the tall grasses, carrying with it the whispers of a momentous day. Elijah, a prophet of God, stood tall, a man of piercing eyes and a flowing gray beard, his weathered face marked by years of divine service. Beside him was Elisha, his faithful disciple, a younger man with an eager gaze, clothed in a simple robe and a determination that mirrored his mentor's strength. Elijah turned to Elisha as they began their journey. "Stay here," he said, "for the Lord has sent me to Bethel." But Elisha replied firmly, "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." Together they walked to Bethel, then to Jericho, and finally to the Jordan River. Each step seemed to carry the weight of heaven itself. Prophets they met along the way whispered, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today?" Elisha always answered, "Yes, I know, but do not speak of it." At the Jordan, Elijah took his cloak, rolled it up, and struck the water. The river parted, revealing a dry path. They crossed, and Elijah turned to Elisha, saying, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you?" Elisha's voice was unwavering. "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." Elijah smiled. "You have asked a difficult thing. Yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not." As they walked and talked, suddenly the heavens opened. A chariot of fire, blazing with golden flames and drawn by fiery horses, descended in a whirlwind. Elijah was lifted high into the heavens, his cloak falling to the ground, as Elisha watched in awe, crying, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." Elisha picked up Elijah's cloak, his heart pounding with both loss and purpose. He struck the Jordan River with it, and the waters parted once more. The prophets who had been watching from a distance exclaimed, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha." The music swells with a triumphant crescendo. Elisha stood by the riverbank, gazing into the heavens. The mantle had been passed, and the work of the Lord would continue. This is the end of the story of Elijah and the chariot of fire. Next is the story of Jonah and the big fish. Once again, happy viewing. The sea roared with fury, dark clouds swirling overhead as the waves rose like mountains. A lone ship struggled against the tempest, its crew frantic, their faces pale with fear. The air crackled with the weight of a divine storm, one that demanded a single soul. Jonah, a prophet of the Lord, stood at the ship's edge. His heart was heavy with guilt, knowing he had fled from the mission God had given him. "Throw me into the sea," he said to the sailors, his voice steady despite the chaos. "It is my fault this storm has come upon you." With reluctance and trembling hands, the sailors lifted Jonah and cast him into the raging waters. As his body struck the waves, the storm ceased, the sea suddenly calm, as if it had never raged at all. But Jonah's story did not end there. Beneath the tranquil surface of the water, a shadow loomed. A massive fish, sent by the Lord, approached with majestic purpose. Its great mouth opened, and Jonah was swallowed whole. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah dwelled in the belly of the fish. The darkness was suffocating, the air thick and damp. Yet within this living prison, Jonah prayed. His voice echoed through the hollow chamber. "In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I cried for help, and you listened to my cry." Jonah's heart was humbled. He recognized God's mercy and power, vowing to fulfill his mission if given a second chance. On the 3rd day, at the Lord's command, the fish swam to the shore and spat Jonah out onto dry land. Soaked and weary, yet alive and resolute, Jonah rose to his feet. He lifted his eyes to the heavens, ready to obey the call of the Lord. Thank you for watching this far. Next, we shall uncover the truths behind these stories. Keep watching. Religion allows you to believe anything, no matter how stupid or foolish it may be. Let us for one moment put aside our religious mindset and think logically. When you read the Bible for the first time with a non-religious mindset, you will be forgiven to think that you are reading a fairy tale, with mythical characters like angels, flying horses, unicorn, horse riders, spirits, chariots of fire, Jonah's big fish, splitting of rivers, demons, etc. Mythical characters such as these need not exist. The only reason they exist is due to a phenomenon known as the observer effect in quantum mechanics. If this is the first time you're coming across this term, pause this video and do a search on YouTube for the double slit experiment in quantum mechanics. Learn about this phenomenon before you continue. The observer effect is a question-asking tool. That is, when you look, what do you see? Do you see a particle or do you see a wave? Whatever you see is a function of consciousness. In other words, we don't see things the way they are, but the way we are according to our consciousness. If you see a wave, you have observed absolute reality. But if you see a particle, you have not observed reality. Your consciousness is playing tricks on you. In 2 Kings 2:11, the primitive people of the Old Testament saw a strange object. They perceived it differently according to their consciousness. That is, according to their knowledge and awareness. Horses, chariots, and fire. Hence, they observed a chariot of fire. But in reality, was that strange object a chariot of fire? The answer is no. Chariot of fire was the best description of the object at the time, according to their consciousness. Let us have another look at that scripture. As they were walking along and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between the two men, separating them, and Elijah was carried by a whirlwind into heaven. 2 Kings 2:11 NLT. The question is, did they really see horses, chariot, and fire? The answer is yes. In reality, what they saw was an advanced technology for space travel. Because this technology was far ahead of their time, they saw horses, chariot, and fire, things they were familiar with. In the double-slit experiment of quantum mechanics, this represents the particle, while advanced alien technology for space travel represents the wave. However, if any one of the advanced intelligent beings who created that technology looked at that same technology, they would not perceive horses, chariot, and fire, because indeed there were no horses, no chariot, and no fire. In other words, just like the observer effect, when they were not looking, it was an alien technology for space travel, but when they looked at it, it was a chariot of fire. So where did the horses, chariot, and fire come from? The answer is consciousness. A friend of mine recently said to me, concerning your new revelations in the Bible, who are we supposed to believe? Your accounts or first-hand witness accounts in the Bible? My response was my accounts. And he continued, why? Again, I responded, because of consciousness. I am under the same inspiration with the writers of the Bible, but the difference is in consciousness. While they functioned in a primitive consciousness, I function in a modern, 21st century, AI-era consciousness. Further to Galileo's discovery, it was eventually established that mankind is not alone in the universe, and that millions of Earth-like planets exist in outer space in which advanced civilizations of living beings have developed technology far beyond our own civilization. One such technology is youth-rejuvenating, non-aging biological immortality technology. Another is advanced interstellar and intergalactic travel technology, which gives them the ability to travel and traverse the universe between solar systems and galaxies instantly outside the speed of light. Again, when people believe they are alone in the universe, as was the case with the primitive people of the Bible, any strange sighting becomes divine, a phenomenon from God. So while people in the Bible days called them angels, devils, prophets, and God, we modern-day people, with improved senses, brains, and different consciousness, call them extraterrestrials, aliens, UFOs, etc., because we know we're not alone in the universe. Thanks to the observer effect of quantum mechanics, we can now uncover many of the particles in the Bible as against the waves. So here are the hidden truths. 1. The so-called chariot of fire was a particle. The wave was indeed an advanced alien technology for space travel. 2. The so-called Jonah's big fish was a particle. The wave was indeed an alien submarine for underwater research and surveillance. 3. The so-called white horse with wings was a particle. The wave was indeed alien technology for aerial and space travel. 4. The so-called angel armed with a sword riding on a white horse with wings, e.g. Angel Michael, was a particle. The wave was indeed an alien soldier on an alien military spacecraft. 5. The so-called angel with wings was a particle. The wave was indeed alien being from outer space with automobile technology for aerial and space travel. 6. The so-called demons and devils were particles. The waves were indeed alien robots, android and mobile machines. 7. The so-called prophets and spirits were particles. The waves were indeed alien beings from outer space with long-term and short-term missions on Earth, respectively. 8. The so-called spirituality is a product of particles. Therefore, spirituality is a particle. The corresponding wave is consciousness, and for Christianity, Christ consciousness. 9. The death and resurrection of Christ is a particle. The corresponding wave is Christ's immortality technology. For over 2,000 years, we were misinformed. It was not entirely the fault of the primitive people of old. They did not set out to misinform us. This was the best they could do under their prevailing circumstances. Many of us, due to the influences of religion, mysticism, the God concept, spirituality, tradition, and drugs, have lost the capacity to consciously think critically and to process long-range thinking integrations due to brain blockages that leave one in a pleasant, non-thinking stupor. These influences break down the thought patterns of the brain and provide a drug-like effect, leaving us helpless to avoid the struggle, effort, time, and the pain required to think consciously. Let us now deploy our analytical thinking tool, the brain, into a critical thinking exercise and long-range integration of facts and concepts with respect to the particles and waves identified above. According to the observer effect of quantum mechanics, a particle represents falsehood, while a wave represents the truth of that falsehood. In religion, the difference between the particle, falsehood, and the wave, truth, is spirituality. As long as the falsehood is unidentified, spirituality reigns. But the moment the falsehood is identified and the corresponding truth revealed, spirituality vanishes. We have been hoodwinked by religion to think that God is a spirit and that he lives in a spirit world. Nothing can be further from the truth. God is a scientist, the greatest scientist ever. He lives in a science and technology environment far beyond our comprehension. The Elohim are great scientists. They are responsible for our creation. Spirituality is a hoax. It is what primitive people do when they are overwhelmed by a lack of knowledge and understanding of who they are, of the world around them, of the universe, and of the meaning of life. Spirituality dies a natural death when all the above mysteries are fully understood empirically. One thing to take away from all these is that Christianity is 100% physical and 0% spiritual. There is no place for worship and prayers. The weakest entity in the universe is the religionist. He or she is close to being a non-entity. This may be too much for many of you to take in at once. It's obvious that we have a lot to unlearn and relearn, but religion will not allow us. Some of you will be offended because you are protective of your religion. Some will rain abuses on me. Whatever be the case, let me know what you think in the comments section. Thanks for watching. If you like my video and you believe I am delivering value to humanity, give me a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Thank you. The source of this knowledge is the spirituality and science.